ready?
Got open man. DJ Moore. End zone. Touchdown. Touchdown Bears.
I am Jeff Joniak.
Blitz is on. Down he goes. Oscar.
What was it like playing for Coach Ditka?
I don't want to answer any questions like that.
Pressure coming. He's in big trouble. Down he goes. Montez Sweat.
And
Now, Bears Etc., brought to you by Miller Lite with the voices of the Bears, Jeff Joniak and Tom Thayer.
Well, many hands make quick work. It's a phrase often used to describe getting the job done, meeting a goal. But in the NFL, it definitely has a legit way to describe the process to building a champion. Yes, the players have to execute. The coaches have to make the right decisions. The GM has to bring in the talent and be flexible in the process. But there are so many more hands that make it all happen, and one of them is Bears chief negotiator and VP of Football Administration, Matt Feinstein, described by General Manager Ryan Poles as an invaluable asset to our football operation, who joined the Bears in 2022 after 7 years with the NFL Management Council. This is Bears Etc. episode 145. We're brought to you by Miller Lite with Super Bowl winning Bears guard Tom Thayer. I'm Jeff Joniak. Are you exhausted from the offseason and the business season? So many things were going on.
No, I'm energized.
Yeah?
Thanks for having me.
The energy comes from the types of people we brought in and the things that were done. Take us through that, because in your role, people don't know a lot about you. They know your name. They know you're the chief negotiator, but when you get somebody signed or you make a free agent decision or an extension, I mean, it's got to be an adrenaline rush for you as well, because that takes some time. That takes some process.
It's the best feeling I have. Like, the best possible thing that can happen during my day is going and grabbing a player and helping him sign his contract, because I'm sure it's life-changing money for them. And so just that process, right, it usually takes a long time to get to that point, whether it's quick in free agency and it's competitive, or it's negotiating an extension over months or weeks. But getting that done and getting to that point and usually seeing them, super happy and excited, that gets me excited.
Hey, when the season concludes, what is your job up until the day that we see the war room and you guys take the first pick in the draft and then all that excitement happens? But what are some of the details of your job at the conclusion of a season up until that point?
Yeah, it's a lot of preparation, because I think you've probably heard Ryan talk about this, but for us, when it comes to acquiring talent, right, you're constantly thinking about free agency and the draft together. And so we're looking at, okay, here's the free agency board. It may change. Some players may go back to their original teams. Some players can make it franchise tagged, which adds another layer to the complexity. But we're looking at, okay, what are our draft picks look like where we could potentially trade up or down or whatever, but what do they look like right now? Who are the players in the draft that are available? And then how do we combine that with a successful free agency to put the most competitive 53 on the field in September, which is a long way away. And so we're constantly looking at, all right, what are the different combinations, between both of those things, knowing that there's going to be some unknowns and some things are going to play out during OTAs and training camp. And then what does that mean for today, right? So potential combinations of players we're going to sign early in free agency or late in free agency. And then as the draft goes on, right, round 1, round 2, later rounds, undrafted free agency, how do we put all of that together to achieve the goals for the team as a whole? And so there's a lot of forecasting that goes into it, really just a lot of preparation. And for me, forecasting numbers and trying to see what affects our salary cap this year and then in future years, so that I can tell Ryan, hey, if we do this, it may affect how we're going to do something next year or in 2 years. And so that's where the brunt of my work comes in. And then I have to distill all that down and say, all right, here's the amount of money we have to work with, with some margin of error, and here's how we can potentially split it up. And, here's plan A, B, C, because things don't always go your way. So you always have to have fallback options and different plans and ways that you can be adaptable and flexible while not compromising your core values and losing sight of the long-term goal.
When you talk about forecasting, do you have a certain amount of allotted money per position, or does that you don't take that in consideration? It's individually done.
It's more individual. I think we have enough guardrails, right? The salary cap obviously is a hard cap. And so I don't try to put too many additional guardrails in place where, we could potentially jam ourselves up if we're breaking our own rules that are arbitrary to begin with, versus just saying, hey, this is the talent that you've got that's available. Talent is hard to come by in this league, right? It's probably in a lot shorter supply than people realize. And so we allocate resources that way. We want the best players available to play for us because that at the end of the day, that's what's going to help us win games.
This podcast brought to you by the official beer partner of your Chicago Bears. Tastes like Miller Time Chicago. Go to MillerLite.com/BearsPod to find delivery options near you. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. 96 calories and 3.2 carbs per 12 ounces. You mentioned scenarios. You got to have plans. How far down the alphabet do you go on a plan? So you got your plan A, plan B, plan C. I don't hear many plan D, E's, and F's in the world of business, but is that the case?
Yeah, they happen, and oftentimes they end up working out, pleasantly well. You get pleasantly surprised sometimes, right? When you see, getting further down the line, you may not, make as many headlines or get as much attention for some moves, but at the end of the day, once these guys hit the field, sometimes you're like, wow, that was a really good deal, or a really good move to go acquire that player. So we try to stay as flexible as possible, and that means having a lot of different plans. I wouldn't say that necessarily, everything that we do fits one precise plan to a T, but at the end of the day, we're trying to stay within our overall sort of constraints and the overall vision where we can at least check off each goal in some form or fashion in a way that we'd contemplated before we do it.
How'd you get into this?
Oh, it's a long story.
Give us a Cliff Notes version.
I thought I was going to do football analytics.
Okay.
And so I was writing about football analytics for Bloomberg Sports, which was Bloomberg Financial Sports Company years ago. This must be 10 years ago, 12 years ago.
Well, certainly before it was a thing for football. Analytics, yeah.
I was their only analytics writer. They were doing mostly baseball, fantasy baseball analytics, things like that. I ended up, that helped me get in to the NFL at the league office, and I was still doing analytics, game stats analysis. If you remember years ago when they moved the extra point back, I remember doing a project about, here's how that'll affect scoring. And then very soon after I joined the NFL, there was a lot of reorganization and shuffling, and I got basically dropped into the management council, which is, the arm of the NFL league office that negotiates the collective bargaining agreement and deals with player contracts and really everything that has to do with player contracts and player, salary and benefits compensation, everything between the NFL and the NFLPA. And so at that time, it was 2015. They were just starting to prepare for 2020 CBA negotiations. And so I ended up sort of transferring some of that analytical skill and looking at how players are paid, how money is divvied up among different teams' salary caps, and applying that towards, hey, if we change this, right, if we tweak the fifth-year option calculation, if we tweak the proven performance escalator, how does it affect spending on players, right, where you've got a certain amount of money that goes to veteran players and free agency or extensions, you've got a certain amount of money that goes to players under the rookie system, restricted free agents, everything. And so constantly analyzing that and gauging tweaks we could make, as we got into 2020 and started to make some of those changes, which was really cool.
Matt, you said you started thinking about the collective bargaining agreement in 2015 when it expired in 2020. How far ahead do you start thinking about now that you're working for a team and not the league? How far ahead do you start thinking about a player contract, the possibility of a contract extension of a bright guy, for example, Kyler Gordon this year?
Yeah, as early as I can, reasonably. And I say that because, obviously what they do on the field is going to impact that. And so I can say, 2 years early, but in reality, those seasons in between are going to have some effect on what Kyler's negotiation would look like. So I try to think about it as early as possible, but really I'm preparing, probably 6 months out, because really for me, I just want to be prepared and ready for when Ryan says, let's go. And at that point, there's a lot of different things that are going to get put in motion, plans and research and things like that we're going to bring to him, that he's going to bring to Kevin or to George and say, this is something I want to do and here's why. And then eventually we have a plan put together and we can, get ready to go and execute it.
Matt, I've been a Bears fan my whole life, and the anticipation of watching a Bears game, sometimes it adds a tenseness to me because I'm pulling so hard for the Bears. When you watch a game, can you enjoy the game, or does every single play, maybe even an injury, all of a sudden ignite a thought in your head? Or is there any time during the course of a football season that you can just kick back and enjoy watching a game without all those thoughts that are being placed in your head unexpectedly?
I think it's pretty tense for me. I want to win. I think as much as anybody in this building, that's the goal, right? We're gonna work hard from February through August with all these different things that we do to put a winner on the field. And no lead is too safe, right? So at any given point, it's not even about the little things that I'm thinking about, transactions and things like that during the season. But at the end of the day, what we're doing here is trying to improve our team and win football games, right? And so that core sort of goal is constantly what I'm thinking about.
Hey, Bears fans, Steinhoffels is a proud partner of the Chicago Bears and now open in Orland Park. Steinhoffels is Chicagoland's furniture and mattress leader with the largest selection to fit every style and budget and is 100% employee-owned. Shop in-store and online at steinhoffels.com. Matt, their scouting report, that's like you hear about it in every vernacular in the NFL as you get ready for a game. Do you have scouting reports on agents?
Yeah. But also, I think one of the important things you can do in a role like this is expect the unexpected.
Yeah.
And so that can only take you so far. You're always going to get hit sideways with something, I think, during every negotiation, and just being able to stay on your feet and be nimble is a critical piece of it too.
Did you ever consider becoming an agent? When you went to the University of Michigan, right?
Yep.
Did you ever have any in contact with the football operations there anyway? So did you ever consider being an agent?
No, I mean, I didn't. I never thought this was a career path for me in college. What'd you think? I thought I was going to be a lifelong football fan.
Okay.
And just live out my days and spend Sundays on the couch watching.
So this is the coolest job ever.
Oh,
for you.
It's awesome. You wake up every morning energized and excited to come into work and to get something done, and it's awesome.
What's it like working with Ryan Poles?
Amazing. And it's Ryan. It's the whole crew. It's Ryan, it's Ian, Jeff, Trey, Breck, down the line.
Good dudes.
Awesome people, incredible to work with. They teach me as much as I can hope to teach them, and that helps me do my job better. Because at the end of the day, I'm translating everything they're giving me about, what a player does, how he competes, where he may fit on our roster into terms that I can use to better do my job. So I learned things from all of them, and they're all just a great team unit. They work so well together, and that just helps me, as I try to do my little part.
Matt, you've had time to develop a relationship with Ryan Poles and his staff to get to know what he requires out of you. How long does it take you to get to know a new head coach? You bring in Ben Johnson. Here's a first-time head coach. And do you have to develop a relationship with him to know his spending habits, or do you deal directly with Ryan and let Ryan deal with Ben?
A little bit of both. I think Ryan does a lot of that. He handles that a lot himself, but I mean, I do have to have some sort of relationship with Ben, and it's for the same reasons, right? I'm translating what he's telling me into things that can help me do my job. And I think Ryan certainly takes on the brunt of that, and, he can help with that translation really well. It may take me a little bit longer to figure it out, but as Ben, as all of his coordinators, his assistant coaches tell us things, right? We're just trying to take that information and use it to help us, right? Whether it's scouting, when we're going out scouting players in college, or pro scouting, or for me in my job, right? I'm just trying to hear about the things that they prioritize in terms of different players, right? Both on and off the field, to better help me understand, how I should structure something, or to what extent to balance myself out. So it takes me a little while to kind of figure that out. But having a relationship, the more and more that you do it, the easier it is with those guys.
All right, we're going to let you go. Time is money, and you got a lot to worry about. So we could talk to you for a half hour, but I find this aspect of football fascinating because it's never really discussed much. And when you find somebody of a man like yourself making an impact in the NFL, people should know about you a little bit. So you've put a lot into it in your life and your career. Comac, New York. You know who else, Tom, was from Comac, New York as a Golden Domer? Tom Mendoza. You know who Tom Mendoza is?
Of course.
Business executive, namesake of Mendoza College of Business at Notre Dame. So that's a Domer. Of course, he played with Harbaugh. Bob Costas.
Yeah.
These are things you know, right? And Rosie O'Donnell, just to name a few. So,
wow,
what a town!
Those are the main ones.
Those are the main ones. It's a whole list. I saw some I never heard of. But where in relation to New York City is that?
It's on
suburb?
Long Island.
Okay.
It's probably about an hour drive from New York City.
Thank you so much for your time. You do great things. Ryan talks about you all the time. Said, "Hey, this is a man you got to get to know." So we got to know you a little bit today. Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah,
Appreciate
awesome.
it.
Thank you, Matt.
Our aches, pains, or injuries keeping you on the sidelines? Athletico's movement experts are here to help you turn your setbacks into comebacks and create a personalized game plan for your recovery. With no prescription or referral needed, Athletico Physical Therapy is where your comeback story begins. Athletico, proud to be the official physical therapy partner of the Chicago Bears. Matt Feinstein, wonderful to hear, Tom, because often the backgrounds don't necessarily relate entirely to football. Could be another walk of life. They may not even be football fans. I love the fact he's a football fan. That makes it better. That makes the job even more important for me.
Right. He thought he was going to graduate with a degree in football fandemonium from Michigan, but look at him going from the league offices now being attached to the Bears the way he has. It was a great conversation. And like you said, there's 1,000 more things I'd like to ask him. And it's a job that's never done.
You know, the first job when you come here with the Bears or in any new situation, you got to look at the financials. Hey, is everything in order? What are we going to do as a franchise? And clearly, when Ryan Poles came in, it was to strip it down to the bare wire. Frankly, that's the process, and the first step in that of a rebuild is getting those financials in order to give the franchise a new foundation to build on. And now we're starting to see the fruits of their labor. We hope it relates to wins, obviously, in a Super Bowl, but the extensions that we've seen. We've talked about it on this show many times. That's telling me and telling the locker room that they believe in a cache of players that are going to be their core when they win. They're not going to give people extensions just because. They're going to give extensions to people because they believe they'll be the reason why you win. And I think there's more of that coming, so that, to me, is a green light go.
Yeah, whether it's a homegrown guy that you drafted and been here since the beginning or guys that you brought aboard and they showed significant traits of being an alpha male leader inside that locker room and for their position. And I think that's what Ryan Poles has always wanted to do on this football team. And now I do think when you're a general manager that's been here and you have a brand new head coach, it opens more avenues for conversations of what you want to try to accomplish in terms of talent.
And honestly, a year ago when you draft Caleb Williams 1 and Rome Odunze 9, you're already wondering, okay, if they're going to be the stars we think they will, what that's going to cost, 5 years from now. And where you want your money to be. Obviously, quarterback's going to make the money, but I want to put it in my line of scrimmage. And I think the Bears are doing that.
But you just look at the league over the last 3 or 4 years, and you look at the way salaries have gone for defensive backs, for wide receivers, for tight ends. Every single position out there, they're not decreasing their contracts. Every contract is increased in some way, shape, or form. And so up and down the line of scrimmage, both sides of the ball and beyond, they're going to get paid. And that's what Matt said even in his interview, that you're making financial life-changing decisions for a lot of these young guys.
And one of those is not a young guy, but a guy who's still playing and plans to make a big impact for the Bears, reportedly. NFL Network insiders Ian Rappaport and Tom Pelissero reporting on Tuesday when we were taping this podcast that the three-time All-Pro Joe Thuney agreeing on a 2-year extension. Not official yet as we put this together, but it was expected when they brought him here. It was something that figured to get done.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because when you bring that up and you talk about agents and everything, Mike McCartney, his agent, is an ex-Chicago Bears scout.
Yeah.
And, the way that, from the first day you walk into Hallis Hall and how you got to get to know it, then you walk back into Hallis Hall and you're walking in with a client. It's, an amazing kind of a turn of the wheel from Matt Feinstein being in the front office of the NFL to now being in the front office of the Bears. It's a definitely change of life.
And if it were you in that position, coming over after being a multi-time Super Bowl champion, and you're coming here with a lot on your shoulders as somebody that's going to lead that offensive line at the left guard position, how would that make you feel to get that belief in you from your new organization that, hey, we didn't just bring you here for 1 year. We brought you here to stabilize this situation on the offensive line and take us into the future?
Well, Joe Thuney's coming in with a reputation. He's got a reputation of an alpha male, of a successful offensive lineman, not a Pro Bowler, but an all-pro. He's got versatility. He's shown signs from New England to Kansas City that he can be one of the most successful interior linemen in all of the league. So if I was walking in with the same swagger as Joe Thuney, I would come in here with the intentions of being an inside the locker room influence and get this thing turned around.
Good news, Chicago. United Airlines is getting brand new planes with all the bells and whistles like Bluetooth connectivity, screens at every seat, and room for everyone's roller bag. United, proud to fly the Chicago Bears, and you too. There's another round of NFL owners meetings. It's going on in Minneapolis on Tuesday and Wednesday of this week. Again, we're taping this on Tuesday, so we won't know the outcomes of these things, but I wanted to get your take on a couple of them. One, the flag football in the 28 Olympics. We know flag football is booming. It's booming. It's going to be awesome that it's in the Olympics. I know there was some hesitation on the owners' part about allowing their players, especially, I'm assuming that the guys that they've heavily invested in to participate. So they had some questions. If a player got hurt, how that would work out in terms of accountability and how that works with the salary and the whole bit. There are some resolutions to it. One is one player per team would be allowed to participate, and permitting each NFL's club's designated international to play for his country as well, which would impact a guy like Torrey Taylor, the Bears punter, if he chose to. Each team would get appropriate injury protection and salary cap credit for any player who was injured while authorized to play in flag football activities related to the Olympics. An agreement that Olympic flag football teams would implement certain minimum standards for medical staff and field surfaces to be eligible. Now, the Olympics will be in Los Angeles. I'm sure there'd be ramp-up practices. And so this becomes a big thing. Now, it's only one player, but are you putting Lamar Jackson out there? Are you putting, Saquon? I don't know. Are you allowing that is my question to you. As an NFL player, pretend for a minute that you're a current NFL player and you want to play in the Olympics.
Well, I think there's a lot of similarities to the modern-day Pro Bowl. Those guys go out there and they play a flag football game, and they have all these competitions in terms of a display of their athleticism. There's got to be a lot of similarities in that. Listen, if you take a mid-range player from the NFL and then you put a bunch of mid-range guys from the NFL together for a team, they're going to be the greatest team in the world. So this is not something that, now that these countries have had years to build their basketball talent or the basketball teams, and they go out there and they're a little bit more competitive against the NBA players. The NBA players are still the NBA players, and the NFL players are still going to be a competitive group of NFL players. And when you have a gold medal on the line for the first time in the history of the Olympics, that would be pretty awesome.
I will watch. I will watch to see.
Oh, me too.
I will watch to see also how far advanced other countries have become. Like we've talked about on this show, like India, for example. They have a massive interest in football. They have a league that has broadcast rights and the whole bit, and they play football. Now, what it looks like, I have no idea. But I think we'd be surprised at how many countries are actually playing football at some level. Obviously, it's not at the NFL level in most cases, all cases probably, but how intriguing would that be to watch flag football internationally?
Well, to me, it would be exciting to see a country like Canada, because Canada has the Canadian Football League. They have guys on their football team that you have to come from Canada. So they have a larger pool of talent than some of the other countries will have. They also are a passing type of a league. So their passing, their quarterback play, all that type of stuff is going to be, I don't know if it's man-to-man comparable to the NFL, but it's going to be, a comparable brand of football that's going to be super competitive.
The other one I want to bring up is and it's not the tush push. That's a over-talked topic by now, but the new playoff format that has been suggested by the Detroit Lions, 7 seeds, obviously in each conference, seeded by the best record. So, in effect, a wild card team could be seeded ahead of a division winner if the wild card team has a better record. And the chances are that the division winners could be playing road games in the wild card round. So, I don't like it. You win the division, you've earned it. Certain divisions are weaker than others. Certain divisions are stronger than others, like the NFC North right now. How do you feel about it?
It seems like if someone gets an idea in their head, according to the records that they finish with, they bring it up as a topic of debate and discussion. Probably be a nightmare for the guys like Kyle Kelly, behind the scenes guy for the Bears, that has to make all the arrangements of where their team is going to travel. And if the records just unfold the way they do according to right now, there's a lot more anticipation of where you're going to go, where you're going to play, and what you need. If the seedings go after the season's over, then all of a sudden you start throwing this, and you start deciding on who's going to play where, when. It just it seems a little bit more confusing to me.
For me, though, it kind of defeats the purpose of winning your division.
Correct.
That's how you get to the playoffs. And
right. But you get a division that's not as successful as some of the other divisions, and then they start this complaint train. And here we are, as they're discussing it at an owners' meetings.
Well, if it does get passed, and I don't know that it will, in the NFC in 2024, under this proposal, 5 of the 7 teams would have been a different seed. So, interesting discussion, if nothing else. The onside kick also, right now you can only attempt an onside kick in the fourth quarter and only attempt if you're trailing. Under the new proposal, a team could declare an onside kick at any point in the game as long as they're trailing. And it will also allow the players on the kicking team to line up 1 yard closer, which would essentially give them a better chance to recover an onside kick. How do you feel about that one?
I don't know. That's kind of crazy. I don't, I like the new kickoff rule that there has been put in place, but not so sure. Are you speeding up the collisions if you allow the guys to come a yard closer? And so it's, there's a lot of, I would need to see a picture of it on paper to help make a more clear decision.
We're brought to you by PNC, official bank of the Bears. So now we're in OTA season, Tommy. What do you want to hear? What do you want to see in the OTAs?
I want to hear the terminology come out of Caleb's mouth clear and concise and know exactly what he's saying to everybody, and then all the counter pieces know exactly what they're being told in the huddle. I want to see, started in putting these pieces in place to eventually down the road, sometimes at training camp or beyond, when they do get a depth chart, the assistant coaches have a clear understanding who belongs where and, what position of competition that they're going to be slotted for once a depth chart does come out.
Well, I'll be excited to watch some of those. The media is allowed, I believe, once a week during the OTAs, leading up to the veteran and mandatory minicamp before they head off for a month and then get back for training camp. It's going to be fun, Tom. We know it is. Hey, Bears fans, Steinhoffel's a proud partner of the Chicago Bears, now open in Orland Park. Steinhoffel's is Chicagoland's furniture and mattress leader with the largest selection to fit every style and budget, and is 100% employee-owned. Shop in-store and online at steinhoffels.com. That's going to do it for us. Special thanks to our guest, Bears Vice President of Football Administration, Matt Feinstein. For Tom Thayer, I'm Jeff Joniak. Thanks for listening, everybody. Please subscribe now on the Chicago Bears official app, Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. Bear down, everybody.